Welcome back in, everybody. I am Benjamin Parker. We have Robertson Byer back with us tonight. We are going through finally our top tier of quarterbacks that we have been looking forward to for quite a while now. Robertson, how are you doing tonight, man?
It's just been such a long time we've been waiting to do this. So it's kind of like, finally we get to put some finality to this. So I'm sure
Exactly.
you guys are
So
so
many
anxious to
names.
hear it.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody is dying to hear our top tier. They could probably figure out by this point who's in it, but we'll talk about the order here in just a second. And just so the audience knows, we are linked to Phantom Sports. We are also linked to Sports and Money. We have YouTube sites. We have websites. By all means, go check out both. We'll try to introduce more of that at the end. Robertson writes for Phantom Sports, and of course, does a lot of YouTube work for us as well. We are finally talking about our top tier of quarterbacks. Our exact number may be a little bit different between me and Robertson, but part of what we like to do here is talk about the thinking about who we like and why, and not so much just throw out the list and try to pretend like that's the end. That's the end of the discussion. There's always a lot you can talk about here. So I think if it's all right, then Robertson will probably, excuse me, we'll probably start at the bottom of your top tier, if that makes any sense.
Right.
We'll save number one for last. Um, Again, your number of top tier quarterbacks will probably be slightly different than mine, but go ahead and start there for your top, for the bottom of your top tier.
So I have six. I have six in my what I'm calling my elite tier. At number six, I got Matthew Stafford. Um, he finally put it all together last year, won a Super Bowl, had arguably one of his best years as a quarterback in this league. Um, he has had a lot of naysayers. He's had to say, well, he can't get it done. He's never won the big game, but 41 touchdowns last year to 17 interceptions, 102 quarterback rating. That's pretty impressive. He also had 67% completion percentage last year, and I've always loved Matthew Stafford. I've always been a big fan. Um, Personally, I've kept him off of my, or at least lower on my top 10 list. I've always had him near the top 10, but this past season for me vaults him up into that elite tier because now he has the stats, he has the championship, and to me, there's no more questions about him. And that's those are the six guys I have in my elite tier. There's no questions about them anymore, except for one guy. There's one guy that there's maybe still a question about him, but the five of the six guys, there's no questions about them. And like you can't question that they're elites. I mean, you could, I guess, but you can't question their accomplishments. You can't question the talent. There's barely any questions, if any. So Matt Stafford for me fits that at number six.
And I don't think anybody's ever questioned Stafford's arm strength. He's got a cannon of an arm. He can put the ball anywhere. You talk about an NFL caliber arm. Stafford has always had that. And he's usually pretty much had the statistics for the most part in most seasons to back up that. It's, I guess, been the consistency, the chance to play in big games. He's not usually even had the chance to play in some of these big games like he's getting now. And he's not usually had the roster when he does play in games that matter. He's not usually had the roster to show what he can do. So I'm sure he's moved up on a lot of people's lists. And by the way, those of you watching out in the audience, what criteria are we using? I think if me and Robertson could pick any one criteria, it would probably be how much do we trust these quarterbacks right now at this moment in time? And it will probably be different next offseason. This isn't necessarily looking back over their career, and it's not necessarily looking back looking ahead over the next decade. Our criterion really, I think, is who do we trust right now is probably the best way we can put it. And if some of you have a different way that you want to look at the quarterbacks, totally fine, obviously, by all means. So this is just what we're going through. My elite level, and I call it the same thing, elite. My elite level is 7 guys. And my 7th guy is probably going to surprise some people. It is Joe Burrow. I'm sure Burrow is way ahead on some people's lists. My only reason for keeping him off is at this moment, the guys ahead of him are just so darn good. That's really the only reason I've got. Um, if if I knew that the Burrow that showed up last year, especially in the playoffs last year, if I knew that was the Burrow we were going to get over the next 2 or 3 years, I might would draft him first. To be honest, he's that good. But this is a tight list, so I've got him at number 7. My basic feeling is you give me anybody off of this top 7, and I'm totally happy. I think I have an advantage in most games I play in, and I think I win most games I play in with any of these top 7 guys. That's just the way I feel about them. I trust them to get the job done, and I've got Joe Burrow there at number 7, and I would have no problem with anybody who wanted to stick him up at number 2 or number 3, to be honest, or maybe some people have number 1. That's fine. But me personally, I've got Burrow at number 7. I just have that much respect for him based on what I've seen so far. But I will say this: he does not have a cannon of an arm like Stafford. He does not have the Patrick Mahomes arm. He does not have the ability to challenge defensive backs downfield consistently the way those guys do. He tends to generally operate in a shorter field, which would be, the 15, 20-yard area, as opposed to the 35 and 40-yard area where Mahomes and Stafford can live if they want to. That for me is kind of where I've got Burrow at the moment. So, any surprises there so far?
No, I agree with you. I also have Burrow at 7, but I'm surprised. Well, I'm not surprised, but I just don't have him in my elite tier. I didn't include Burrow in my elite tier just because it's only his second year.
Right.
And I don't know if this was an aberration. I don't think it is, but I don't know if it was an aberration or if this is just who he is. My inclination is this is just who he is and who he's going to be going forward. But like I said, my top tier, there's virtually no questions. And he did get injured his rookie year, so injuries are a question. Again, that's not something that is typically going to be a problem, a recurring problem. At least we hope not. But I need to see this again, or something very similar. I need to see it again. Right. If we see it this year, then no question, he's probably moving up past 7, and he's probably, he might even overtake Stafford. I'll expand it to 7. But I just need to see it again. And I'm not saying I need to see another Super Bowl appearance for that to happen. I just need to see another impressive season where he puts, the team on his back and he's been a reliable option. And, like I said, no questions.
Absolutely. And to be fair, we're not on a hype train here. I think that's why we have him at this number 7 slot. He was amazing last year. There's no question about it. In terms of clutch and performance and games that mattered, him stoning up and just being, anything you could ever want anybody to be, he was. But like you just said, injuries are a possibility. He's only done it for 1 year so far. And he does not have the biggest arm in the NFL. Matter of fact, if you were ranking strong arms, he would probably come in lower than 7. It is just that ability to make things happen when really he has no business making things happen that really kicks in. But again, living on the edge there like that, is that something he can sustain over a decade? I think we still have to see that. So absolutely love Joe Burrow. But, I would like to see more, just exactly what you just said. So my list is 7, yours is 6. So I guess we're hitting number 5 on your list now. Who's next for you?
Josh Allen. That's who I have at number 5. So this is the one guy where I think there's still a question. Not at all in terms of talent. Not at all. It's mainly, can he win the big game? Which I think he can, but he hasn't yet. It's just one of those things where it's like, can he win the big game? And we know we can debate the Kansas City game all we want. That was a fantastic game of the year. Some would argue maybe game of the decade. And I wouldn't, press against that. But, like I said, he has to prove it still. But the talent is undeniable. You can say he had a loaded team, sure, fine, whatever you want to say about that. That's fine. But I really think he carried that team last year. The interceptions were a little high. I think he was top 3 in interceptions last year, so that needs to do some work. But he had a 92 quarterback rating, and every one of my top 6 guys, everyone in the elite tier, finished top 10 in QBR, in total QBR, which to me it was actually coincidental. I just looked it up and I made sure that all of my top 6 guys finished top 10 QBR, because that's also important, because that deals with situational football. And he was, I think, actually, just let me make sure real quick here. Josh Allen was number 6, so that's pretty close. And what he can do with his legs as well as his arm, he's going to be a great quarterback for years to come. And I think right now I do trust him. And it also, like you said, it comes back to this trust factor. I do trust him in big situations, but I haven't seen it yet in the big game. Whether that's his fault or not, we can, like I said, we can debate that all day long, but I just need to see more.
And I'm going to mix it up just a little bit here. I'm going to stay on Josh Allen, even though he's not my same ranking as yours. But we'll try to keep it just on the Josh Allen discussion for a minute, and then we'll go back and scoop up anybody that got skipped on my list. But I'm right there with you on Josh Allen. I've got him at number 4. Some people have him at number 1, and I realize that. But like you, I haven't yet seen it at the top. He doesn't yet have a Super Bowl trophy. Several of the guys on this list have Super Bowl trophies. Some of them have a lot of Super Bowl trophies.
Yeah.
Some of them only have one, but they do have one. And, he doesn't have one yet. Do I trust him? Yes. Would I be totally ready to go to war with him in any game against anybody? Yes, 100%. But we're ranking these guys, and somebody's got to be number 4. And for me right now at this point in time, I've got Josh Allen. And again, don't question his talent. I don't question his arm strength. Don't question his running ability. I don't question anything. I don't even question his ability to win big games. This is a tough list. All right. Everybody out here is good. So
yeah,
I've got Josh Allen at number 4.
Splitting hairs.
Yeah, we are. We are totally splitting hairs here. You could give me almost any of these 7, and I would never feel like I got cheated or shortchanged. I wouldn't feel embarrassed to go up against any of the other top 6 or 7. Give them on, bring them on. I'm ready. So, yeah, same thing there. Josh Allen at number 4. So we'll go back and scoop up anybody I've missed here on my list. But for you, your number 4 next up. Who you got?
I have Russell Wilson at number 4. I've always liked Russell Wilson. Just everything he brings to the table, leadership. He brings that dual threat ability. In the past, I think it's 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. In the past 5 seasons, he's had over 100 quarterback rating. I mean, that's impressive. And he's had some, especially last year, he was dealing with injuries and stuff. But that was not a very impressive team last year. And he carried them to pretty much every win that he played in. And granted, we can split hairs here and say, oh, last year wasn't a great year for him, but statistically, definitely wasn't a bad year, and he was dealing with injuries even when he came back. But man, the guy is Houdini. He just makes things happen. I have every bit of confidence in him that he can pull through in any situation. You can point to different situations where he hasn't pulled through, but I think he's done it way more times than not. The talent is, to me, it's not a question. He's a future Hall of Fame quarterback, in my opinion. I have him at 4, and I wish I could rank him higher, but my top 3, those are more undeniable than Russell Wilson. So,
yeah, exactly. Now, I'm going to keep the discussion on Russell Wilson for a second, so we don't have to go back and forth too much. And again, there's no perfect way to do this. We could either go tit for tat on our list, or we could stop and talk about a quarterback. So let's stop and talk about the quarterback. I have Russell Wilson not in my elite group anymore. For the only reason, this is where the list starts to get interesting. The only reason, and again, we're basing this off of how much we trust the guy. My only question was, I'm not sure how much I trust his health and his age at this point. Every time I see him, I like him. He has been elite for years now. I don't doubt his playing ability at all. None of that. I don't just doubt his decision making. I don't doubt his ability to escape. We've watched him do it for years. I don't doubt his arm. I doubt none of that. The only question I have, and again, we're splitting hairs. Before I drop him in on the elite level, I'm not sure that I trust his age and his injuries at this point as much. And I hope to see that proved wrong this year. Wouldn't surprise me at all if he had an MVP season this year. Not even in the slightest. But I've got him in the second tier at the moment. I won't tell the ranking right now, but that's where I've got him. I do want to go back and grab. Let's see. I had Burrow at 7, correct?
Yes.
I'm going to go back and grab my number 6 now, just so our list doesn't get too far off. And this is a guy I think maybe you elected to leave off your list, but we'll wait to see. And that is Desean Watson, of course, for the Cleveland Browns. And I don't want to be disrespectful or insensitive to what's going on off the field and to how many people it's affecting off the field. Not just from a legal sense, but from a standpoint of real people and real lives. I don't want to diminish that at all. But in terms of when he's on the field, and that might not be this season, and even if he gets on the field this season, he might be so rusty from being out for so long. It might just be like Michael Jordan back in the 90s coming back and playing for a couple of months, and he's not really ready again until next season to be back who he was.
Right.
But all aside, for me, when Desean Watson steps on the field, he belongs in this discussion at least. So I've got him at number 6. The numbers tend to support that. His numbers are up there in the elite area. A lot of that he did on teams that either the defense was horrible or the offensive line was one of the worst in football. Not just bad, but bottom of the barrel bad. In some cases, he did that without his best wide receiver. I think it was Hopkins who left a season or two ago, a couple of years ago now. The roster hasn't been without talent, but certainly it's not been a great roster. And the roster has kind of gotten worse the longer he's been there. Now he's in Cleveland. Whenever he gets back on the field, whenever he's not rusty anymore, I trust Desean Watson to win the big games. We haven't seen him do it in the playoffs necessarily very much, but we have seen him go up against some of these top quarterbacks in the regular season in some of these shootouts, and we've seen him do it in come from behind fashion. And we've seen him show that he's not afraid of the moment. And certainly, even if you want to go back to college, for whatever that's worth, he went toe-to-toe with Alabama, wasn't afraid of them either. We had the same situation there. So I trust Watson on the field, off the field, again, entirely different discussion, but I've got him at number 6. And you may have elected not to even place him on your list. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so to be completely transparent with our viewers here, we're recording this in reverse. You'll see the last one first, but the last video you're seeing here, we're actually recording first. So I didn't elect actually to rank Desean Watson mainly because I don't think he's going to be playing this season. I don't know if he's ever going to play again. I just don't know, because at that point, even if you suspend him for this year and part of next year, is he even gonna want? I'm not saying he's not gonna want to play, but it's gonna take a while for him to get back another. At least that half season and probably the next season after that to get right again. So that's really going to affect his ranking in my book. But if you were to say he's playing this year, I would rank him. I'd rank him ahead of Dak. I have Dak at 9, and I have Justin Herbert at 8. So I'd put him in between there. So I'd probably knock Dak down to 9 and put and Desean Watson there at 9. That's where I would put him.
All very fair. We won't spend a lot of time on the Watson thing because I'm sure people have probably heard enough of it. But it's also possible, again, I think he's settled a large number of these lawsuits. There's still a handful of them still sitting there pending, basically. But it's also possible, we've been hearing rumors for months now that there's a lot more women sitting out there. And, if this is kind of a cap on it and it's all he's got to deal with, then maybe he sits out a year and he comes back. But if there are more women out there who start to step forward and it creates a whole new bundle of cases against him, it might be another year or two on top of that before he comes back. And again, depending on how bad it gets, I guess there's always the possibility he doesn't come back at all. So I know people say, well, that's unlikely. Well, we didn't really think he would miss all of last year, and he did, because it was just a gray area. And, some people didn't think he would miss all of this year, and there's a very good chance he will. So it's not an easy thing to talk about off the field for sure. And we won't try to do too much of it here tonight. But again, totally understand everything you're saying. And, we'll leave that for that, I guess, for now. We've covered, I think, we've covered your number 4, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, Russell Wilson up there at number 4. Number 3 on your list. This is where, again, it only, I say it only gets better and better. We're not insulting any of these guys, but this is where it really starts to just get to the cream of the crop here. Who's your number 3 guy?
So hold on a sec. Before I get to 3, your number 7 is Burrow. Your number 6 was who again?
Number 6 was Watson.
Number 6 was Watson. Okay. Who's your number 5?
I haven't hit number 5 yet, but let's go ahead and jump on that. So again, so the lists aren't too far off, right?
Yeah.
My number 5 is Justin Herbert.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, I figured you knew I was going to go there.
I just knew in my head, I was like, he has Herbert in his elite because
yes,
you had somebody.
You were doing the math on that, weren't you?
Yeah, I was doing the math. Because you didn't have Russell Wilson. I was like, I bet he has Herbert in there.
Right. Here's a little bit of my bias, and I have no problem trying to show areas where I am biased because we are all biased. In college, or in the draft rather, I was huge on Herbert, massively huge, but I hadn't done a lot of film work on him. And everybody that I was listening to, not everybody, but there was a pretty significant group of people who were telling us that Herbert really just didn't have it, that there were a couple of other guys that really were better. And I kind of said, well, that doesn't sound right to me. But again, I haven't done my homework, and these people have. So, let me not be too devout in that opinion. You fast forward a couple of years here, and it's obvious he's the real deal. No matter where you rank him, it's obvious that he is better than the guys who were drafted ahead of him at this point, or at least as good as. I'll say that. So for me, I already kind of carry that Herbert bias into here. Everything I've seen supports everything that I thought. So I've got him here at number 5. But, he's in that same boat. He's proven a lot in the regular season. He's won shootouts. He's gone up against top quarterbacks. He's not afraid of it. But they missed the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
Maybe none of that is Herbert's fault, but it's a fact. They missed the playoffs last year with a pretty decent roster. So he still has something to prove. I think he's elite. He can move up to number 1 in the future, possibly, but he can slide back too. So that's where I'm at with Herbert. Herbert number 5.
Man, see, that's surprising to me. And I understand why you're putting him at 5, but it's surprising in the sense that you have Joe Burrow ranked at 7. And I will argue that Justin Herbert's more talented than Joe Burrow. I think, there would be, there's not much discussion there. Obviously, he has the talent. He's 6'5", like 230. He runs all over the place. He's got a cannon.
Right.
But like you said, he had a fantastic roster last year. And I would argue that it was much better than the Bengals roster. And yet Joe Burrow was in the Super Bowl.
Right.
So, and I understand way things break and all that, but I have Justin Herbert, and the viewers know this by now, but you don't. I have Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert ranked at 8, and I have Joe Burrow ranked at 7.
Right.
Because of that. And I'm not saying that, Joe Burrow is necessarily a better, more talented quarterback again, but, Joe Burrow has proved it more. And I think, like you said, Justin Herbert could be a top 3 quarterback at the end of this year when everything's all said and done.
Right.
I just don't see it right now. I don't trust him as much as I trust Joe Burrow or anyone else in my elite tier.
And I'll explain some of that part of that is my bias. Again, on the flip side with Burrow, while people were saying Burrow should be drafted number one, I looked at Burrow in college and I saw average arm, which again, he doesn't have the cannon. Good arm, but not fantastic. And I thought, well, he was just surrounded by a lot of talent at LSU. So, of course, he won. Of course, he looked good doing it. When I looked at Burrow, I thought, competitive NFL quarterback, but not a star. I've completely reversed course on Burrow, and I think he obviously is a star. I guess there's probably an element of I trust the Bengals coaching staff more than I trust the San Diego coaching staff at this moment.
Right. Okay.
Right or wrong, I kind of
Right.
blame the Chargers coaching staff for last year more than I blame Herbert.
That's fair.
Yeah, and then I guess I get the feeling, you mentioned the talent that Herbert has. When I glance back over at Burrow, I get the feeling he's living on the edge. And while he's got that incredible it factor inside of him, that if you could bottle it up and sell it, you would be the ruler of the universe,
Yeah, really.
Like, he's got that in spades, and maybe Herbert doesn't. We have yet to see. But those are the things that are kicking in here. So, again, if you give me Burrow, I have no complaints. We are going to rock and roll on that field and take on anybody, including Herbert,
Right. Yeah.
But if I'm ranking them for those reasons, that's why I've got Herbert ahead. But you're 100% right. Burrow has shown more to this point in games that matter than Herbert. Burrow's running for his life behind a terrible offensive line last year.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way that team should have gone to the Super Bowl. Burrow carried them there along with, other players and coaches contributing, but without Burrow, they don't even make the playoffs without Burrow. I forget.
No. Oh yeah, totally. So you have Joe Burrow at 7. You have Desean Watson at 6. You have Justin Herbert at 5. Who's your number 4?
Yeah.
I want your number 4 because I want our top 3 to be in sync.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that totally. And Josh Allen is the number 4.
Oh, guy. Josh Allen. So sorry, missed that. Okay.
Well, that's fine because we got all out of kilter with that.
Yeah.
But, So I say this, and again, it's a matter of trust. I'm sure there's people watching who are heavy on analytics who are probably screaming at us right now for some of these orders, but we're not going off of statistics here.
Right.
We're taking it into consideration. But at the end of the day,
Absolutely.
It's how much do I trust this guy? That's really the best way we can say it. So, that's kind of where we're sitting. So we are down to our top 3 now, though, with Josh Allen for me being at 4. Who you got at number 3, man?
I would imagine we have the same top 3, like the top 3 quarterbacks, but not in the same order.
I would think so, but maybe not. Maybe
not. Maybe, like I said, we're recording this in reverse here, so maybe one of these guys is way down.
I will say there's a guy in the top 3 that I would consider kicking down the number 10, but I can't. There's just no way I can do it. So I'll explain that in a minute.
I think I know who, because he's my number 3 guy.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I want to have him higher, but he keeps getting in his own dang way and doesn't shut up. And he has not been back to a Super Bowl in 12 years now. If you haven't guessed yet, it's Aaron Rodgers.
Right, Aaron Rodgers.
I so badly want to put Aaron Rodgers at number 1. I so badly want to, because for this past decade, I have said that Aaron Rodgers will go down as the best thrower of the football in NFL history. And that was obviously before Patrick Mahomes, before Josh Allen. You could argue Matt Stafford, but I again argue Aaron Rodgers as pure talent, best thrower of the football. That has been Aaron Rodgers year in, year out, no questions asked as far as I'm concerned. Even with Patrick Mahomes the past 3 or 4 years that he's been starting, I would dare say that Aaron Rodgers is still better in terms of just that when it comes the flick of the wrist, the spiral in the air, it's a catchable. It's it's just pure beauty every time he throws the ball. And I've argued every single year that he's like the best quarterback in the NFL, even ahead of Brady.
Right.
But man, he just can't get it done. He just can't get it done. And it aggravates the crap out of me. And I'm not a Packer fan. I don't root for the Packers per se, but I want some validation here.
Right.
Because I've been willing to die on this hill that, Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in the NFL. He's the best quarterback I've seen.
Right.
And
Right.
like, I feel like I'll ever see again. We have yet to see the rest of Patrick Mahomes' career, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and all that. But man, it's just Aaron Rodgers is just built different, and on the field, like just pure talent. Like he's just built, and he's mobile, and he pulls off these miracle throws. It's like, man, it's like, Russell Wilson started doing this Houdini stuff, and Aaron Rodgers is like, hey, watch this.
Right.
Like it's just crazy. And I know I'm going off on Aaron Rodgers right now, but man, like he can't get back every NFC championship, any like big playoff game. He just chokes. I mean, bad. It's not even like, oh, I just missed one throw. It's like, it's bad. I mean, that game against the 49ers was just horrid, horribly awful. I mean, it was just so bad. And I'm sure he's your number 3 the way you're talking, but like you have to share some of this, like some of this opinion with me.
I am 100% dialed in with you on this. We may have differences kind of, and some of this is gray area stuff with overlaps
Right.
and the way which mountain you view this valley from. Not with Aaron Rodgers. Everything you said about him is true, 100%. And there's almost I don't want to criticize people who disagree with us, but it's hard to view him any other way. If you could hand out rewards and awards for regular season success, and for efficiency, and for escapability, and for spirals, and for balls 60 yards downfield on the money, and for throwing into tight windows that really should not have been thrown, but he is so accurate. He's not just accurate. There's a lot of quarterbacks in college and the pros these days who, through good coaching, they're very accurate statistically, but that's because of the passes they're throwing. He is on a dime 60 yards down the field on the out routes. He throws the ball out of bounds to where only his receivers can catch it, and they know it. I mean, anything you want a quarterback to do, and when the term thrower of the football, the best thrower of the football on the planet, it's Aaron Rodgers.
It is.
And yet, he hasn't been to a Super Bowl in over a decade, and he's had some good teams. And I know somebody out there is going to argue about I forget which game it was, one of the NFC title games in which they kind of sort of got a little bit robbed. I get it. I totally get it that they probably should have been in the Super Bowl at some point, but they haven't been. It's been over a decade. Now, has his salary maybe kind of sort of hindered that a little bit? Yes, but they've still had some good rosters. They've been in the NFC Championship game, I don't know, 5-6 times now. It's a lot. And they can't get there. And last year's game against the 49ers was a disaster. It was an all-time disaster. You talk about Aaron Rodgers and great throwers of the football. You're talking about Dan Marino. You're talking about Johnny Unitas. Mm-hmm. You're talking about Peyton Manning. Guys who are just, in the regular season, they are almost untouchable. And then for whatever reason, many reasons maybe, you get them in the big games. It's not that they can't do it, because most of these guys did do it at some point. It's just that they usually don't.
Yeah.
And we know Aaron Rodgers can. It's just that he usually doesn't. And it's mind-numbing. It's mind-blowing.
It is. And I want to point out something. I know we're not getting into statistics here per se, but I want to point this out. So your number 5 quarterback, Josh Allen, threw 15 interceptions last year. That's not a ton, but it's not a little either.
Right. It's not a little. No.
The past 4 seasons, Aaron Rodgers has 15 interceptions.
That's insane.
He has not thrown
number.
He has not thrown more than 8 interceptions in 12 years. I mean, that kind of consistency, that's what I'm talking about. That kind of consistency, that kind of just precise, like, accuracy. I mean, the talent, he puts it all together, Aaron, the regular season. I mean, they went 15-1. What was that, 2015 or 2014, 2015? And they lose in the first round. It's like, oh my God, what is going on?
Right. They have home field advantage every single season, or at least the number 2 seed every single year.
Maybe it's like a Brett Favre curse or something. I don't know.
Maybe it's the curse of Brett Favre. Yes.
Maybe it's got to be something. I mean, like, I don't know. Maybe he's like cursing him in his Levi jeans or something. I don't know.
I'm 100% with you. It's mind numbing. There's a part of me that wants to call him the best quarterback ever, and there's a part of me that wants to drop him number 10 right now.
I know
on this year's list. Forget all time. I want to drop him number 10 because I don't trust him when it comes to the playoffs.
No, I don't.
Give me Joe Burrow, give me Josh Allen, give me if you give me the same talent level of roster, give me Dak Prescott.
I was just about to say that. I was like, you know what? Put Dak Prescott on the Packers right now, or in the playoffs, right? I'd take Dak.
Right.
And that pains me to say that, but right now, I'd probably take Dak over Aaron Rodgers. I might even take Lamar Jackson over Aaron Rodgers, honestly.
If you give me the same roster, I think so. In the playoffs.
In the playoffs. Season. Yeah, not the regular season. In the playoffs, I'd probably take him.
Shaking my head. One of those things. And it goes to show though what we repeatedly find out about everybody. Very few, these are humans. These are not robots. They've all got a malfunction somewhere. Some of them not as obvious as what Rodgers is, but they've all got deficiencies. If you could put them on a chart and hook them up with all their different meter bases, nobody's 100. They are all beatable on some level. That's what can we say? Rodgers, we love you and hate you all at the same time.
It's really a love hate, and it's been with the Packer fans too for the past 5-6 years too. It's just like he can't, and the more he continues to run his mouth, like the more like people just want to like. But then, as Packer fans, it's like, okay, you get rid of him. What's your backup solution? Because he's pigeonholed that franchise. He's held them hostage for past 5-6 years. It's not fair to them, but at the same time, it's like I feel like they kind of deserve it because these are, these fans, like they can't stand the thought of not winning, and so they'll just do anything for just the opportunity. And I can't say anything bad about that being a Washington fan, but like at the same time, it's like, guys, you gotta realize what's going on here. You just gotta press reset at some point.
You do, but I think this gets back to real life. You don't want to be the coach or the general manager that let Aaron Rodgers go. Yeah. And then by some happenstance, he wins a Super Bowl in the next 2 years with some other roster or some other coach. Nobody's got enough. I'm not even sure Bill Belichick's got enough, cachet in the bank to be able to write that check. Maybe Belichick, but very few other people in this industry have that. So,
I don't think Belichick would want Rodgers, honestly.
Maybe not. Maybe.
I don't know if he'd want him.
Belichick likes to win, and I don't know. It's a fair question.
If the Packers went to Belichick, like, hey, we'll give you Rodgers. We just want Mac Jones and 2 firsts. I don't think Belichick would do it.
I'm not sure he'd do it either. I will say though, could Belichick do Belichick to Aaron Rodgers the way he did to Brady all those years? Because now we're seeing a whole different side of Brady that we never saw before. Or is Aaron Rodgers just too far gone to ever get back in that tube again?
See, Aaron Rodgers, and that's why I love him so much. I think he can succeed in any system.
Right.
I don't think because for the longest time, and I'll explain this when I get there, but I for the longest time thought Brady was the system guy. Like, I did not respect him in the least. I thought like the absolute worst of him. And then the Buccaneers happened with Bruce Arians, who, again, no disrespect per se, but like Bruce Arians, and he won a Super Bowl. And I understand that, had Kansas City's offensive line been different, that situation been different, we could be talking different outcome here.
Right.
But, now I have much more respect for Tom Brady and that. because for the longest time, I thought he was a system quarterback. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is a system quarterback. You throw him in any system, you
Yep.
give him any offensive coordinator, you could give him a brick wall, might as well, as an offensive coordinator. He's still going to produce at the same level. I truly believe that.
Yeah, I agree. I probably the only question, maybe the only little grace I would add to Aaron Rodgers is they did have Mike McCarthy. I understand Mike McCarthy won a Super Bowl. I get it, but I'm not such a huge believer in Mike McCarthy's coaching abilities. Matter of fact, I wonder if maybe there weren't a couple of seasons where possibly it wasn't Aaron Rodgers' fault that they didn't win a Super Bowl that year. Who knows? We're reaching back in time there. So, all right.
I completely agree, though.
Yeah.
I love that he's the Cowboy coach.
Right. Yeah, I don't think it scares anybody, does it? I mean,
no.
Yeah. Number 2 on your list. We agree on number 3. We're close on a lot of these, but we haven't been identical on any of them until we got to number 3. So number 2, who you got?
I have Tom Brady.
Okay.
I got Tom Brady too. I feel like you're the same, but I don't know yet. And the only reason I don't have him at 1 is because of age. That's the only reason. I realize he's the ageless wonder here. I mean, he was 44 years old, threw for over 5,000 yards. I mean, this is just crazy. I'm just reading his stat line right now. He was 44 years old, right? Was he 43 or 44?
It doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, I don't.
He's old.
No, he was 44 years old. 44 years old, 5,300 yards, 43 touchdowns, 102 quarterback rating. I mean,
it's absurd.
With again, no much disrespect to these people, but Bruce Arians and Byron Leftwich call him plays. And I actually really like Byron Leftwich. I think he's going to be a great coach, but like still, this is new to him.
Right.
I feel like it's more Tom Brady coaching Byron Leftwich how to call plays, and he was second in the league in total QBR at 44. I mean, that's insane to me. And the way he went out in terms of the playoff wise, like, yeah, we can point to several different things, but the way the game ended, like that was just kind of if he were to retire there, I don't think anyone would blame him for going out like that. It was just, even though they didn't win, that was like kind of like the perfect Tom Brady ending. Other than a Super Bowl, like if it wasn't a Super Bowl, that would just be a perfect Tom Brady ending to such a long, accomplished career. And the only reason I don't have him at number 1 is because of age. He has to fall off eventually, even if it's a little bit. You know, it has to happen. Father of Time is undefeated. Tom Brady is not undefeated. Like we know this. You know, Giant fans know that he's not undefeated.
Right. Right.
So like, and I'm not saying he's going to fall off a cliff, you know, that people have said in years past, but there's got to be drop off somewhere. And I still have him at 2. It's not like I have him at 12 or, you know, way at the bottom. He's still at 2. Right. You know, I think that's fair. You know, can he throw for 5,300 yards again or even over 5,000? I think it's possible, you know, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's less likely. I feel like this is going to be his swan song season. I don't know if it's going to go as planned. It probably will, but yeah. I think it's going to be a much better version of like the 2015 Peyton Manning season in terms of like where Peyton Manning probably had no business being a starting quarterback in 2015, but Tom Brady for sure belongs. It's just, I don't think it's going to be that spectacular season that, you know, that we've expected the past, you know, several years. And I think they still are the Buccaneers because of that, are Super Bowl favorites still because of the weak NFC and the fact that, you know, it's still Tom Brady. Because regular season, honestly, that doesn't matter. I think once they get to the playoffs, that's when things start to matter. And that's when Tom Brady is going to be Tom Brady and just, you know, carry the team to the Super Bowl. That's what I think is going to happen ultimately. So that's why those are the reasons why I have it too. Because who can you trust more than Tom Brady? Honestly, it, he just does it every time.
Right. I have him at number one. I'm just going to get that out of the way now.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
You just said it. Who do you trust more than Tom Brady? And nobody. It's not even close. Like, there is nobody I trust more than Brady. I said when Brady was 38 and 37 and 39, I said all the same things. I was like, this is a joke. He's already had a longer career than most people get at a top level. He's got to fall off at some point. And I wasn't doing videos at the time, but if I was, I would have got on the air and said, he's going to fall off the table this year. We already got little glimpses. And then he has another 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The Grim Reaper is sitting off somewhere right now telling Tom Brady stories. All right. Because every time the Grim Reaper knocks on his door and says, hey, you got to quit playing football, Brady beats the crap out of him and sends him crying back to the Grim Reaper's house. All right. It's a joke. It's ridiculous. We've never seen anything like this. There was a time where I hated Brady. Couldn't stand to see him win. I don't even care anymore. Play, don't play, win, don't win, whatever. I don't care. My emotions are gone now. Like, he's played for so long and won so much. I have to put him at number one. And yes, I agree. At some point, he's got to level off. But he hasn't yet. We see little glimpses here and there. They're bad games. They're tail ends of a season. But in general, one of the big reasons he lost last year, they got behind. The Rams were able to get pressure up the middle with, their all-world defensive tackle. And then they got back in the game, and they had a chance to win it. They just didn't, And so I've got Brady at number one until I see different. There's nobody I trust more than Tom Brady. So that's where I've got Brady. I could talk about him all night, but I really don't want to.
I mean, yeah, we all could, but I think Chiefs fans are going to come after you, man. I mean, that's
I'm
bold.
used to it.
That's yeah, that's bold of you. That is quite bold of you.
I am that bucket of cold water that sits next to the cup of Kool-Aid that fans like to drink. So here's your cup of Kool-Aid over here, and now here's your bucket of cold water presented by Ben Parker.
But I don't like putting Brady at 2. I don't like putting him at 1 either, because I mean, I don't hate him anymore, but I definitely don't. I don't root for him. He's just kind of there now. He's kind of like that pest that won't go away. He's like, oh, there he goes again winning. But I respect him now. I respect him now. It was my mistake not to before, but I respect him now. I acknowledge that. I would, because obviously I think my number one is Patrick Mahomes. I'd like to put Brady just like have Patrick Mahomes 1 and Brady is 1A. If I could do that, I would, because like I said, you can't trust anybody more than Tom Brady. But Patrick Mahomes, he's built different, man. I mean, we've never seen anything like this. It's just he just keeps. And I realized last year was a down year by Patrick Mahomes standards. 37 touchdowns, 4,800 yards. Yeah, that's a down year. Is kind of crazy. He throws 2 interceptions in a quarter, and everyone's already like, "Oh God, what's wrong with Patrick Mahomes?" It's like he had a bad game. It's something y'all haven't seen before. But I mean, I feel like I heard some Chiefs fans say, "Oh, we should bench Patrick Mahomes." It's like, do you all know what you have? Like, what's wrong with y'all? Like, Chad Henne's any better? I'm sorry. Like, what? But the playoffs, he just continues to do it. He didn't get it done last year, but that again, we can debate that Buffalo game all we want, but fact of the matter is he pulled it off in overtime. He didn't against Cincinnati, but he still had his team in the game, ready to win. And again, he couldn't get it done, but I feel like we've seen him do it more times than not. And that's why you trust him. The fact that you even trust him even a little bit with all the talent that he has, with all like And you can point again to in the past Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and all those weapons he's had, and we'll see this upcoming year without Tyreek Hill. Sorry, I couldn't think of his name for a second. Without Tyreek Hill, how he'll do, and I think he'll be fine. I don't think he's going to be fantastic as he has been in years past, but you're still going to see a top 3 quarterback. I have him at number 1 just because the talent is something we've never seen before. He just pulls off incredible plays. He runs around like a madman. It's something that, like I said, I think Aaron Rodgers is the best thrower of the football, but I think Patrick Mahomes is the most talented quarterback we've ever seen. I think that's fair to say.
Mahomes is amazing. I've got him at number 2. Anybody that wants him to put him at number 1, I have no problem with. Do I think there are other guys on the list of elite players right now who can pass Mahomes? Possibly, but at this particular moment in time, do I trust them more than I trust Mahomes? The answer is no. We've seen Mahomes in the regular season win all the shootouts and win all the comebacks and win the ridiculous comebacks. But way beyond that, we've seen him in the playoffs. We've seen him come from behind in the playoffs. We've seen him come from ridiculously far behind in the playoffs. We've seen him go toe-to-toe with Tom Brady on the biggest stage with the whole country watching, and he's won that game. We've seen him win the Super Bowl. We have seen him perform at the highest levels. I don't trust, at this moment, I don't trust those other guys more than I trust Mahomes. Now, could that change by next season? Maybe. If Justin Herbert steps up and does something in the playoffs like we've seen Mahomes do, or maybe if Burrow actually gets all the way back to the Super Bowl and wins it this year, maybe I start to reconsider this list a little bit. But in terms of trust factor, right now at this moment in time, Mahomes is right up there for me. I've got him number 2 behind Tom Brady. So, again, I don't have any problem with anybody putting him somewhere else. But the trust factor is there. He's done it all. There's nothing he hasn't done. Anything else he's done anything else he does in his career will be redundant. It will be something he has already done.
Yeah.
So
really,
he has done it all, proved it all. It's just a matter now of legacy for Mahomes. I tend to throw him more in the gunslinger category with the Brett Favre's, those monster arms kind of a category. But he's done it all. He has already done it all. And it's just a question now of, could he possibly, with a big salary, can he catch up to, the Bradys and the other guys on the list in terms of winning Super Bowls and MVPs? That's what, life is good for Patrick Mahomes, and I think will be for a very long time.
So I have a surprise question for you. So who out of your 7 is most vulnerable to fall out of it by this time next year? And I know you've already said Aaron Rodgers that you want to put him at 10, but right. Who is most vulnerable to fall out of there?
I think, and we'll put Watson in a different category for now because of the off-field stuff. For me, it's Burrow. And for me, the only reason is I've already mentioned, I think he kind of lives on the edge. That it factor that's inside of him isn't going anywhere, but is it possible that defensive coordinators start to figure out that his arm is not as explosive as some of the other guys on this list? It's not as dangerous as the Mahomes arm or the Rodgers arm or the Allen arm or the Herbert arm. It's just not. Do they start to figure out ways to kind of limit him, even if he's got a better offensive line? That's possible. Is it possible it's 5 years before Burrow gets back to the Super Bowl because he's playing in a very tough AFC? Yeah, it's possible. So I wouldn't expect that, but for me, the guy would be Burrow. He's Joe Cool, love him to death. He's got the inside factor that very few people have, but there is a little bit of that question, that lingering question of, I think, the limited arm that we saw in college, and that kind of held me off on drafting him in the first place. So, and I'll flip the question back around, of course, for you on your list.
So there's a couple candidates on mine because we have Matt Stafford. My top 6 was Matt Stafford, Josh Allen, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. And those top 6 were people other than Josh Allen, people that we do not have any questions about. And I don't want to say that I'd ever put him out of my elite tier, but I think Patrick Mahomes has the most to lose. Out of those six, I think he has the most to lose reputation wise. Not that you can't take anything away that he's done, but
Right.
in retrospect, if he struggles this year, if the Chiefs don't make the playoffs in a tough AFC West, he's gonna be looked at very differently. That especially if Tyreek Hill goes off in Miami, that Tyreek Hill made you, man. Like, or Andy Reid, a combination of Andy Reid, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce, they kind of made you who you are.
Right.
And there's going to be a legitimate argument for that. And again, I don't think it's going to ever get to that point, but I feel like they're out of those six, he has a lot of pressure on him. I'm not going to say the most just because we have Russell Wilson with a loaded team now. We have Aaron Rodgers, who this is probably his, in terms of, I think the window's already shut on the Super Bowl for him, but, statistically speaking, I feel like this is his last, window year for a Super Bowl. Tom Brady, he has no pressure on him whatsoever. And Josh Allen, I would say, has pressure, but I don't think so. Matt Stafford, I don't think so. He does either. So I think Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, out of those six, have the most pressure, and I think Patrick Mahomes has the most to lose.
I think that's a fair statement, and I'll put it this way: we'll give people some extra coverage here tonight. For those of them still sticking around for the after show here, I think there's two things kicking him from Mahomes. One is that massive contract that I already mentioned. We've seen it with the Saints. We've seen it with the Packers for sure. We've seen
Cowboys.
it with other teams. Yes. Those massive salaries, they don't make it impossible to get back to the Super Bowl. We know that they can, but it's more difficult. You've got more money tied up in one position than you ever had before, and it's not a little bit, it's a lot. It makes it more challenging to get back to the Super Bowl. So is it possible, and I know people would scoff at this, is it possible that Mahomes doesn't get back to the Super Bowl ever? Yeah, it's possible. People would laugh if you had said that about Aaron Rodgers 10 years ago, 12 years ago. They would have laughed at that. The Steelers, the same thing. We haven't seen the Steelers in the Super Bowl in over a decade. When they were coming off that second Super Bowl win, people would have mocked you, mercilessly if you said, hey, they won't be back. Roethlisberger is going to retire a long time from now and not have been back to a Super Bowl. The Saints, even though the Saints got robbed in the NFC title game one year and should have been in the Super Bowl, they didn't, with Drew Brees. Even Peyton Manning didn't get in a whole lot of Super Bowls. It's not easy when you factor the money in. And even more to the point, this year for the Chiefs, they struggle to stop edge rushers, both their tackles. Even Orlando Brown, who's a solid left tackle. They really struggle to stop edge rushers. Struggled a lot last year. They're going to struggle this year. They have to keep an extra tight end on the field to kind of help swing block one of those tackles. Oh, by the way, the AFC West loaded up on edge rushers this year. That's going to be a factor this year. Can Kansas City scheme their way through it? Maybe. But I think we've seen we may not have seen the last Chiefs team that has a chance to get the Super Bowl, but I think we've already seen the best Chiefs team that we're going to see for the next couple of seasons. And again, can Mahomes carry them through some of these games? Maybe, but it's not going to be easy. There's a lot of factors there to consider when you start looking at this.
There is, and I bet you that they're going to complain. The fans are going to complain. The media is going to complain that, well, they love Andy Reid. Oh, is he washed up? Is he old? Does he need to retire? They're not going to blame Mahomes. Of course not. They're going to blame Andy Reid because we've seen it before where Andy Reid's at the highest of highs, and then all of a sudden he comes crashing down with the fan base and the media.
Right.
So, I think Andy Reid would take more of the blame. And if that were to happen, if the Chiefs weren't to make the playoffs, if the offense wasn't this juggernaut that we've seen before, and they could easily be a top 10 offense, even without Tyreek Hill. But if it's that 10, 11, 12 rank, how many coaches would be upset with a top 12 offense? And they're like, oh, you're not doing enough. It's like, what? But it's just because there's that Patrick Mahomes has set that standard so early in his career. Anything less than what he's been producing is now not good enough.
Right. It's the complete reverse of what Peyton Manning went, where for the longest time he hadn't won a Super Bowl. It was a very long time where Manning was amazing and wasn't winning a Super Bowl, and he had the reverse pressure. But you're right, with Mahomes, he did everything very early, very quickly, and it's about legacy building now. But it's been about legacy building for Rodgers for a long time, and it's not that much of a difference, really. Matter of fact,
No.
The Mahomes contract is going to be bigger than percentage-wise than Rodgers was for the past few years. Rodgers has the large money now, but the Mahomes contract is very large, and some of these other quarterbacks' contracts are going to be very large too, which is also going to hinder some of them from winning too. But conversations for another day. So
right, yeah.
All right. Well, I've enjoyed it, man. This has been fun.
Yeah. It's been fun doing all these videos.
Right. Yes. All right. For those of you still watching, we appreciate you being on here. We have content all over the place. We have the Phantom Sports website, which has articles all about football all year long, but has lots of other sports too. Robertson writes for them. We have the Sports and Money YouTube channels. There's two different ones: the Kansas City version and then just the generic NFL version, where we put out all kinds of content. Haven't done much Kansas City lately, just because it's kind of been a dead period of the NFL season, of the NFL off season. But so hopefully we'll do some more of that. And then of course Phantom Sports YouTube. You may actually be watching that right now. We try to produce a lot of content on there, so it's all kinds of places. Robertson, go ahead and, if you will, drop your Twitter handle, and we'll sign off for everybody.
Yeah, follow me at RELVIAR99, and like Ben said, read my articles at phantomsportsindustries.com.
All right, everybody. We appreciate you watching again. If you're still hanging with us, we appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Have a great one. Good night.